What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a little bit. We haven't had a whole lot going on over here. A lot of stuff's been on Blerd It Out. I appreciate the patience, and I figured why not come back with a big video on One Piece Day, because we got some huge stuff. We got game announcements. We got the popularity poll. We got the top 100, the 1 through 30, most importantly, and we got movie announcements. Obviously, a bunch of cool stuff. I want to start with the movie announcements because we have the official reveal of a God Valley movie. Now, there's actually going to be a God Valley movie 2027 and then another movie, One Piece Film Bad, in 2029. Now, the idea about this is that, one, this could be one of the greatest anime films we get of this generation of like animated manga. I'm talking potentially surpassing what Demon Slayer has done. I'm talking about potentially being at the level where it's as popular as like a JJK movie. And not to say that these series are inherently more popular than One Piece in general, but One Piece movies, they do well. They don't do Demon Slayer and JJK well. God Valley has the chance to change all of that. And like, this has been something that if you watch like Brago, he's talked about it a lot, but some of the community's been like, if there's going to be a movie that like really elevates what One Piece does, it's going to be a God Valley movie. And we were kind of like, but Oda's not going to do it. Oda's not going to let us have a God Valley movie. Well, it's dropping. It's 2027 God Valley. I am beyond excited for this movie. You have no idea, because I absolutely love God Valley. God Valley is such a fantastic part of Elbaf. Admittedly, I'm not the biggest fan of how it ends. I'm really hoping what we get from this movie is just an expanded version, because that's what I wanted. I wanted God Valley to be expanded. I wanted that world. I wanted more of that. I really hope that God Valley is exactly that. I mean, they can go one of two routes here, where it's kind of like a separate but canon movie where we just have a character kind of flashbacking to what happened in God Valley. Or like you have almost from the eyes of like a bystander, someone who was on God Valley or anything like that. Or they could go the more modern route, with a lot of anime is doing right now, and like you tell a part of the canon story in a movie. So like how Demon Slayer has like Mugen Train and Infinity Castle, JJK Zero, we could get God Valley as like its own contained movie arc as a part of the anime, especially with how the anime has changed from going from consistently, year round to seasonal. We have that ability now. We have the potential to say, okay, we're going to run the season up to the God Valley flashback. And, maybe even we step into the flashback a little bit. And then once we get to like the meat of God Valley, that's when the movie drops. Because if it's coming out 2027, you got to think the anime is just now inching up to the concept of Herald and Rocks, right? We're getting close to that. If we cut it off right where Rocks is introduced, say right where, he pulls up and we get the name card, the title card and everything, that's where the season ends and then the movie drops. That would be perfect. That would be fantastic. And honestly, I think that's what I'm hoping for the most. Either way, this movie is going to do numbers. I don't see any way that this movie does not do numbers. I mean, it's One Piece. It's one of the most hype parts of the story. It's a modern movie, so the animation's going to be clean. It is going to be fantastic. We have so many old school characters just in their youth. We got Whitebeard, Big Mom, Roger, Rayleigh. It's going to be so good. And now the other movie, One Piece Film Bad, I have no idea what that's going to be about. The way it's written though, it seems like it's going to have something to do with the Will of D. It's like B-A-A-D, and the D is a lot bigger than the rest of the letters. Now, I could imagine there's some details in that. I feel like the more we get in the manga, the closer we're going to get to what that movie is. In fact, that could be like an emu-based movie. That would be kind of clean. And it'd be easy for them to plan that movie ahead if they know where they're going to be in that arc. Where they're like, okay, in 2027, we're going to be at Rocks. In 2029, we're going to be at Emu. So we can plan a movie. We can get that set up then to have that as a feature release. Either way, so hype. I love One Piece movies, and I love the fact that we're getting a God Valley movie. We also got the top 30. We got the top 100, but importantly, we got the top 30 for the character poll. I'm not going to go through the full 30, but I do want to highlight some crazy stuff that happened here because for the most part, I think it's pretty normal, but there are some sneaks. The first crazy thing is that Katakuri and Kuma are outside of the top 30. Now, with the insane backstory that Kuma got, and I'm biased to Kuma, but still, just as a character, how much that was like advertised, how prominent that was as a part of the anime, I'm surprised he's not higher. Now, I'm not saying that he would be in like the top 10 or like even the top 20. I think a top 30 would have been fitting. And everybody loves Katakuri. Everybody loves Katakuri. And somehow he didn't make the top 30. And like, I get Jinbei being in the top 30 because he's technically a Straw Hat. I kind of think Katakuri and Kuma should beat him. I'm not gonna lie. And like some of the other characters in the top 30 are really surprising. Like there's Marco in here. Marco's at 26. Marco hasn't done anything since Wano. And he barely did stuff there. Like he's lovable for sure. Why is he at 26? The ultimate sneak, the one that makes no sense, is Cracker. Why is Charlotte Cracker at 21? Above people like Doflamingo, like above people like Vivi, is Charlotte Cracker. Above Katakuri. Who is talking about Cracker like that? Who is repping Cracker merch this high? That's insane. Best Girl Perona, May 24. Love to see it. I'm honestly surprised she cracked top 30, but I am not complaining. I think she deserves at least top 20, but I'll take what I get because somehow we have Carrot and Uta in the top 20. And the Uta one, I'm kind of like falling back on because I realized that there's a lot that goes into Ado being her voice and like the music and how just beloved Film Red is. Like, I think it didn't do as well in the West. It's not really what we're looking for. In Japan, they loved it. So I see it. I'm surprised Loki isn't higher. Like Corazon and Boa Hancock beat out Loki. And it could just be that Loki is just now showing up in the anime. I think the anime is doing a lot of heavy lifting, the anime, the movies, a lot of heavy lifting here. Because otherwise Loki would be, I feel like he'd be at top 10 at this point. And Carrot always sneaks her way into these things ever since he was introduced. We just gotta live with it. Rox is at 17 behind Carrot. Rox is behind Carrot. Again, I'm gonna say this is an anime thing. We haven't got to him yet in the anime, so there's a lot of fan base that just hasn't been introduced to him. Yamato's up here. Yamato and Usopp beat Loki. Let that sink in for a little bit. But the top 10, Crocodile and Mihawk are in the top 10. Now, I believe it was like the midterm for like releasing the votes. I could have sworn Crocodile and Mihawk were below 30. I know Mihawk was at like 31, wasn't he? Like he was behind Jinbei and he shot up to 9. And he's right behind Shanks at 8, which is very fitting for how Oda kind of does the whole rivalry, because I think Mihawk is always like one below Shanks in some degree. Ace is here. Ace is always here. Law is here. Law has been consistently here. Like Law has stayed a top 10 for a minute now. Like he's been rivaling the top 3 at some points. Like Law is moving crazy. There were no upsets in the top 4. It's how it always is. Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, Nami. The OGs, they've been here. They live here. They know how it goes here. And it's kind of crazy to see how close Luffy and Zoro were. Like it's what, 200,000 votes, around that, 230,000 votes. I want to say roughly between Luffy and Zoro. And like the next is Sanji, who's way below. And once you drop from Sanji, it kind of, there's about a bigger difference between him and Nami and Law, but then it starts like evening out. But the insanity of like Luffy and Zoro just surpass everyone. Like Luffy has like double the votes of Sanji, I want to say. Just like Luffy is just consistently number 1. I don't think Luffy has ever been anything but number 1. And that may not sound as crazy. There have been a lot of polls of different series where the main character gets beat out by somebody else. And honestly, Law has been eyeballing that top spot. I would say characters like Law, characters like Ace have been looking at that number 1 spot for a minute now. They just can't get there. But man, it's very interesting to see how some characters rank. Because I mean, you got like Joy Boys next to Blackbeard at down in the 60s. You've got Parasparrows on here. Enel's on here. They have Gaimon on here, which is really funny. Gaimon beat out Ivankov. Karus on here, the Kung Fu Dugons, the Kung Fu Dugongs. The funny thing, one of the funniest things is that Spandam somehow beat Kaido and Dragon. And Shamrock is just Spandam. How on earth did Spandam beat all of those people? Please tell me. Other best girl ulti is on the list. She is a lot lower, but I'm glad to see her on her too. It's just interesting to look at, to see all of these characters. Even Kuro made it on here. Captain Kuro is just barely got beat by Kainu. Just barely got beat by Kainu. And then there's some game news. So I think they announced there's like additions to some of the games they already have out, and then they announced some other new games. So they already have One Piece Bounty Rush and One Piece Treasure Cruise. I think they announced some new characters like Loki and Gaban coming to those games. They got Vivi in there as well for Bounty Rush. They got the new Jewelry Bonnie where she's in Gear 5. And then they announced a new game, One Piece Grand Gourmet. We saw some of this previously. I forget what we saw it at. I don't know if it was like a Nintendo Direct or if it was an earlier like Anime Fest, Jump Fest, but we saw kind of like the pre-announcement to this game. So we kind of already knew this was coming out. There's also One Piece Pirates Crisis, which is, I guess, an attraction that's coming to, I guess it's an attraction, and it's going to be based around Buggy, Big Mom, and Kaido. That one caught me off guard. Should be interesting though. There's also an arcade game called One Piece The Phantom Secret Stone that's coming out. I think that's going to be like set up in the same area as like the attraction here. They have an entire One Piece kind of like, I don't know if you've ever been to an arcade and you played the game where you shoot a disc on a spinning wheel and you have to like get it in a slot. I think it's either one of those or it's just like a spinning wheel jackpot. I'm not entirely sure, but it looks dope. Like, I like the look of it. And I think one of the prizes that's supposed to be in there is a Loki figure. Last but not least, they have announcements for the live action. Season 3 has finished production, so I believe that is on its way to us. Season 3 is supposed to be about Alabasta, so they announced that they got some of the voices. I think they got Koza, they got Pell, they got Chaka. So they've gone through casting for all that. That's cool, that's hype. I do like the live action. I love seeing stuff about it. I'm excited for this season. I think it'll be dope. But that was One Piece Day. There's probably some other stuff here and there. Don't forget to check out like some of the Twitter feeds or just some of the recaps, because there is some stuff I probably didn't touch. I just touched on the stuff that I thought was really cool. Let me know what you thought down below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.